This is J. Krishnamurti's discussion with scientists in Bangalore, 1974.
Your daughter's wife? Hari sisters.
Most of these people are my friends. Krishnamurti, Professor Srishachar, Professor Sinha, Professor Katkin, Professor Katkin, Professor Ramurti. Would you like us to ask questions to you? Professor Sinha is also.
Maybe I asked a very obvious question which must have been asked to you earlier. Can the spiritual world assist the socio-economic problem of a country?
Did you see so?
Can the spiritual practice assist the people of a country in solving their socio-economic problems?
The socio-economic problems, are they helped by people, by spiritual practices of people?
I don't know quite what you mean by spiritual practices. By repeating mantras and going to temples and
No, I don't mean that.
leading a religious life?
No.
Then what kind of things are?
I mean, those aspects of mind where he is not involved with the material world in the sense that he is not very much concerned with society or the economic problems of the country, but still he can oversee it.
No, I think what Krishnaji wanted was for you to specify what is you mean by spiritual. You agreed that it is not chanting mantras and not going to temples or not reading, not puja or not traditional life.
Then it will become subject to my definition of what is spiritual.
Right, exactly. I think you could ask more openly what you really mean.
Have you got any views on spiritualism yourself?
So are you saying, has a religious man, will you define the word religion presently, any place in the socio-economic society? That's the question.
Yes.
Or is he helping the society at all?
No, what I meant, say, spiritual way or path, we say that he improves certain quality of the mind. He improves the quality of the mind, whatever the weaknesses or propensities may be. So will that in a way help us in solving some problems?
Has a mental regeneration of a group of people, will that have any value in a society? Is that the question? Isn't it?
Yes.
Put it differently.
Yes.
Wouldn't it, sir? Is the Indian society highly cultural?
Again, the difficulty, because we will have to define what is culture.
We will. What do you mean? We mean by cultures. I mean, the ordinary English, the word means surely to grow, to flower.
The culture also, we have to have control over the external things, also the internal conflicts. So this internal culture and the external culture from that point
They
of
must
view.
both be in harmony together, not two separate things.
Yes.
I would like to ask, I am not being rude, has India any culture?
Has India any culture?
In the sense we are using growth, flowering, not technologically, not merely that, but inward flowering.
I don't think any country has.
I'm not saying any country, I'm taking in. It isn't, I'm not saying Europe has or America has, but here we are. Has India any culture?
No, I don't think neither India nor any other country has a culture in which we can define. It's a one culture from that point of view.
If India has no culture, then what are we talking about?
I didn't use the word culture.
I introduced it, sir, in the sense that a cultured human being, in the sense a human being who is growing inwardly, who is creating inwardly, who is totally aware of all, all that, what has such a person in a society which is disintegrated?
But perhaps you were trying to say that a society is a distraction from your spiritual
Mhm.
self. That perhaps being involved in society may be a distraction from your spiritual self. Or can you blend the two?
I don't know what you mean by the word spiritual. I'm a little bit shy of that word.
Well, I mean, maybe he's asking, are you asking in the traditional sense of renouncing things? Less
No,
involvement?
I can be spiritual without renouncing the word. Or nearer to him, say I can be a cultured person. But culture, there is a outward culture and inner culture. I may appear to be a very cultured person outwardly, but within myself there is so much turmoil and conflict that I'm not a cultured person.
Could I interject a word here? It seems to me that the question is not whether intellectual or rational integration would be a disadvantage. No doubt about it being an advantage. The question is the effort that is necessary in the pursuit of rationality, of philosophical and introspective nature. This would certainly have to be made by a certain person. Should the priority of this be such that you take effort away from involvement in society for betterment of other people's lives and one's own economic and social well-being?
So how can I improve society if I am not also improving? What
That's correct, yes.
if I am not regenerating myself and I try to regenerate the rest of the world, there is no meaning. Both subjectively, objectively, in every way, if there is not a flowering inside me, and instead of merely just repeating, then I can go and do lots of social work, and that doesn't do anything. I've done all that.
But this flowering, it may have some saturation in the sense we cannot go on continuously improving and improving. We may come to a limit.
I don't think there is a question of improving. There is only regeneration, not improving. I don't know. The word regeneration, the word improving, it's improving all the time, getting better and better and better and better, which is the enemy of the good. If you admit that, then it is not a matter of improvement, but a matter of change, complete change. And whether that is possible, that's the whole question.
Now this question has been for the human civilization is very old, maybe say 20,000 years old, living in a society, but the problems remain, you see. Means people...
So then what are we to do, sir?
Means, is there any hope that we, human beings, with the help of science and other kinds of learning, we can change society?
What are we to do?
Whether some of us can really, with the help of this regenerative process, can help society.
I wonder why we separate ourselves from society.
Because we oversee, we are there, and
We're
we are aware of the problems.
We're right in the thick of it. Why should we separate ourselves from it?
No, even if we do not separate ourselves, so even if there is a problem within me, I know of the problem, I have to solve the problem. Similarly, I am in the society, I know the problem of society.
Yes.
So I would like to solve
Where
it.
do I solve it, sir? Out there or out here?
Both.
Where do you begin?
First with ourselves.
Obviously. So we're back, we're there.
But we shouldn't stop there even.
You want to-
We shouldn't stop after reforming
No, I
ourselves.
don't think. If one says the inward growth is apart from society, then there is a separation between society and oneself. But if one says society is me and me is society, which is obviously so, then the theory of affects the society, must.
No, it will affect, but I mean, how many persons take to this message?
What is
If only a very few persons take to,
What is this?
then the problem remains.
No, at least it's like a drop of poison or something in a bucket. It changes, the whole thing changes.
On Saturday, you asked us to share with you the idea that we should think about our minds without being fettered by any rituals, images and such other things. Now, how does this automatically guarantee that you improve yourself?
What's that? Come and sit down there, sir.
How does this...
Come and sit here, so please.
I
This is
had-
our bridegroom. Come and sit down.
Saturday you were talking to the group in Bangalore, and you asked us to share with you the idea that we should be completely free of all rituals and puja and gurus and such other things, and dwell upon what our mind is. Now the question I would like to ask is, supposing I did this, how does this automatically mean that there's an improvement in me as the initial point of the society?
Can we remove the word improvement?
No, I didn't mean improvement in that sense. But supposing, in which way does it ameliorate all my other sins of living here in misery, poverty, subjugation, etc.?
So, what is consciousness? It comes to the question, right? What is consciousness? You are involved in it.
Yes, I am in it all the time. Oh, I hope so.
What is consciousness?
Well, at least I can define it at various levels for myself. The simplest of which is the awareness of one's existence. At any level.
What is that existence?
Alright, purely in the physical plane, I say if I feel pain in my hand, I'm aware that my hand exists.
So the content of consciousness is consciousness. Huh? Put it very simple, right? It's all agree. I mean, my consciousness is its content. The pain, the anxiety, the attachments, the fears, the pleasures, all the content makes up consciousness. The consciousness is its content. That's all.
Yes.
And we are moving in that field all the time. I can know the content completely, both the unconscious, conscious. And I'm moving there all the time. The mind is never beyond it. Now, is it possible for the mind not to be caught in this?
the purpose of looking at your mind to be not caught in any of this consciousness, on the content of the consciousness.
So I must first know the content.
Yes.
Is it possible to know the content? You understand how it
Yes,
is?
I'm trying to understand. It's a difficult thing.
I'm not a linguist. Can I know the content of my consciousness? Is it to be known through analysis? Is it to be known through investigation? Is it to be known through introspective, non-analytical observation? How is the content of my consciousness to be revealed?
Well, people have tried all three of these. I don't know the answer.
How would you do this?
Oh, that's a different question. I mean, how is it to be known? It's a more general question. How would the
No,
content...
not for other people.
And how would you know? That's what I mean.
Well, actually, I was quite drawn to the theme of your lecture that one should, for oneself, individually, think of one's mind without all these obligations that one has, either to books or to rituals or etc. Given my free choice, I would probably do it that way, to know the contents of my consciousness.
How would, sir, I'm asking, how do you know it?
How do I know?
Your content.
No, I don't know. I would like to proceed to know if I were given a chance.
Would it take time?
Oh, I'm sure.
Huh?
I'm sure it takes time.
Wait. I question it.
You think it's instantaneous?
No, wait. Now, go slowly. If it takes time, what happens? Time is movement. Time is direction. And you are saying the content is this, let's say, and it will take time to uncover each one. That's it. And by the time I'm done, I'm dead. Of course,
Yes.
there's too many things involved in it.
Yes.
So is there another way of looking at the whole thing, which is non-analytical, which doesn't demand time, which isn't directional? Sorry to raise it. Is there a way of looking and shows everything? Otherwise, I'm caught in time.
I would like to add that if you are moving from thing to thing, and if you think of moving from thing to thing, think of uncovering, then you are not uncovering because you are only dealing with a more superficial level.
Well, maybe I'm very naive. I don't know how you can proceed an action without knowing what it is you're proceeding to. So, if I were to follow your advice, for example, on Saturday...
I'm not advising.
No, the sharing of the views, as we talked about. If my objective is to know this content of my consciousness, then if I don't know that I'm doing it, then it will be... I can...
And is my content different from yours?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that.
How can you, sir? Wait, listen. Anxiety we share with the world. Hate we share with the world. Violence we share with the world. Guilt we share. Bitterness. Identification with my house, with my family, with my knowledge, with my... all that is the world consciousness, which is me. Am I expanding too much?
No,
Let's proceed then. Then my consciousness is not very different from yours. Because I am in the society the result of the society or the culture in which I was born, and you are so and so. So can that consciousness be revealed with its content? If it is revealed, and if there is a transformation, a regeneration there, I affect the consciousness of the world. It's not I, what's the good of you doing, flowering, and the rest of the world rotting.
Now, do I take it then that there is a way of doing it?
We're going to discuss it.
I
We're
see.
going to discuss it. Right, sir? I don't know. You're keeping silent.
No, I am agreeing with the exchange. It seems to me, perhaps I might interject at this point. It seems to me that when you talk about these things in the public talks, say for example the Saturday talk, you emphasize what not to do. Some of the things that many of us have been discussing after that is that you seem to be very anxious that one should not follow certain paths.
Practices.
Certain practices.
Yes, yes.
Suppose I were to tell you that I follow this path and I arrive at the place of regeneration, of the spontaneous flowering, the being in the timeless state. It seems to me I should note what you say, but I should pay no more attention to it than I would to any book that I have read.
Yes, I understand.
I think most of these people are even more polite than I am, and therefore they find it difficult to...
You can be as rude as you please. I am not that kind of person. So what is the question, sir? No, let's finish this question.
I just interjected the thing, so if he wanted to pursue this, he could pursue it.
No, my only question is simply assuming that this is what the knowledge of what we want to do is necessary to do it. Now, if I want to know the state of consciousness or the content of my consciousness, which is common to all of us, let's say, then is there a quick way, this timeless way that you talked about, to do it? Because as Professor Sudarshan was saying, that sure, we can shun rituals, you can shun all your societal hang-ups if you wish, and then go on this adventure. Now, what I had not understood, or at least got the impression, was how does one go on?
So suppose, let's be clear that we both understand what we're talking about. I want to know the content of my consciousness. I know analysis, the psychoanalytical process, introspective process, watching every day, every minute, the thoughts, the feelings, and I find them no value. Because I'm moving the same circle. Right? And do I reject it? Do I deny analysis? Because in negating there is energy. Right? I negate analysis. In that negation, there is energy.
You mean you expend energy?
No, energy.
Yes.
So it matters very much how I negate. So do I negate actually or merely intellectually? I negate say for instance, that to follow anybody quickly and things, I negate that. And that gives me, it takes, a burden is off. So I've got more energy. It's a rational negation, not just blind negation. Rational, sane, objective, clear negation. And that gives me a tremendous energy to proceed. Energy. Wait. Can we do that? Can you do it? No? Do it. Have you done it?
No.
Sorry, it's not personal.
No, sure.
But in negating, are we not spending energy also?
No, sir.
No.
So do you mean energy the way physicists would interpret it, or in a slightly different way? It is not quite clear to me.
Could I amplify the
Yes,
question
sir.
and bring it
You're
up?
right.
It is not the question that is being asked is that first we use energy in a very technical, specific sense, and like a person who is well acquainted with language and enjoys it, if somebody mispronounces or misuses the syntax, it is physical pain. So
I know.
when we have great difficulty in discussing questions like energy, force, power, movement.
I mean by energy, not only physical energy, vitality, intensity, non-friction energy. I mean all that.
Could I restate it and ask if this is what you mean? That in the case when spontaneity gains ground, when there is natural flowering, then you feel a release.
A release, let's call it.
Very much like a piece of cork which is kept underwater. It shoots up. It is not a case of somebody having pushed it up, but in a certain sense, like a balloon which is tethered to the ground, the rope is cut. The natural thing acts up. This is what you mean by it. It is not a case of something positive coming to move it, because the natural things move by themselves, but the constraints being removed.
That's right.
Hasn't everyone experienced that temporarily, but it's very difficult to sustain it? You know, you temporarily have flashes of that.
No, we're not discussing temporary, that's not. I can't negate temporarily something. You either negate or you don't negate at all. It's not temporary. Say, well, I've given up alcohol for a few days and then pick it up again. That's not negation.
I didn't mean it in that sense. I was referring more to that total feeling of release that Dr. Sudarshan was talking about. That you feel free, inwardly free, and that you're not bound by society or past, past traditions and so on. That somehow you can see life in a flash with total meaning in your own definition.
Aren't we going a little bit too?
But isn't that what he was talking about, this release?
May I
Yes,
again?
please, sir.
She says that as far as the experience of release is a loaded word, but what is meant is spontaneity. The natural taking place of things in which you are both inside and outside, you are it and you are watching it and all that. This experience comes, she says, sometimes with no effort. In fact, whenever it comes with no effort.
It's like an aesthetic experience.
Yes, therefore I must understand effort. And whether the mind can be free of effort, not how to keep the other thing going.
You mean sustain the feeling of, like an aesthetic experience. You know, you looking at a star, this type of, I think Dr. Sudarshan defines it. Doesn't it come naturally with...
I don't, these words, natural, spontaneous...
I mean, without a concentrated effort. But the thing is that if it's not done with an effort, that it cannot be sustained at will.
Let me restate it again in a surgical but not very polite language. If she had never listened to you, never read anything that you have written, never listened to anybody else who said similar things, but just remained Monique, then she says, I have been in a situation when I have ceased to be having the question whether I'm part of society or not, whether I'm happy
I
or
just
not.
drag along. I just go along.
Not drag
No,
along.
that you
fly.
are. You are in
you
essence
are,
yourself.
You are
No,
there.
you are.
I have a child that's... But you are in the middle of society. You're not out of it. You suffer, you have anxieties, you have all the rest of it. So let's come back. In negating, you have energy in the sense, vitality, clarity. It's like a burden being taken off, some weight taken off from your mind and from your body. Then you feel light. And that implies for me, and perhaps I may be misusing that word, energy. That energy is needed to proceed, not proceed, to explode. It will explode by itself. So now, do I negate analysis? Totally, not just partially.
Well, if I were to answer the question, just because I'm brought up in a certain way, I probably don't negate analysis totally.
Therefore, what happens? You are still functioning
In the constraint. Now, by this, do I take it that you totally negate analysis?
I do. Totally. Because analysis implies time. Analyzer and the analyzed. Who is the analyzer? Who is analyzing? Is the analyzer different from the analyzed? So, that's part of my content, of my consciousness. And part of my consciousness is getting better and better and better and better and better. Improve.
Well, it is not clear to me, and it is my failing. Supposing you did reject analysis totally,
Reject.
or negate.
Negate is my
Yes, totally.
yes.
How does this
Actually,
energy that you have, this added energy, or this
It is this.
spontaneous thing, work for this so-called betterment?
not betterment. No,
This elevation of oneself.
Look, analysis implies time, right? Analysis implies the analyzer and the analyzed. Is the analyzed different from the analyzer?
Not in this context
No,
of consciousness.
of course not. I mean, I'm not the tree. So, and analysis implies an examination or analysis of that which you are analyzing. And each analysis must be totally complete, otherwise you carry the memory of it next. With that memory you examine, therefore incomplete, and so on, so on, so on. And during this process, analysis is a form of paralysis. And if you reject that, negate it totally, then how do you understand and act without analysis?
That would be the thing I would most like to know.
That's what we're discussing, sir. Right, sir.
Yes.
You approve this?
Yes, I approve it. You have so far not objected to the word how.
I object to the how too. How means a process. How means a practice. How means an end to be achieved.
So he who negates analysis cannot ask how.
No, wait, not answer how. What is the next step? What takes place? No, I'm greedy, envious. I know the analytical process, cause, effect, and the effect becomes the cause, and so on, so on, so on. I know all that. And I negate that. But I'm still envy. Right? I have negated the means of getting rid of envy, which is the analytical process. But at the end of it, I'm still envious of that man who's in a big house. That remains the problem, right?
Yes?
Now, how am I to transcend that? How is the mind go beyond it? The mind can go beyond it if it has sufficient energy. In the sense I'm using that word energy, not the mechanical energy, all that. I need energy to. There must be energy to transcend. There must be energy to climb a mountain.
Yes.
In negating, I have that energy.
This is the kind of theory that we physicists make about physics.
I agree, sir. Bowman spoke too.
Right. Okay. This is David Bohm.
Oh, David Bohm, I know.
He's a friend whom I know.
Yes, he's my friend all
Oh,
together.
no.
This is a theory about how certain things happen.
It's not
It is
a theory. It is not a theory. That's why I object to the word theory.
Yes.
Because this is, for me, sir, for me, humbly put, for me stated, I start with what is, not with what should be. I start for myself, I am envious. Will that envy be transcended through analysis? And I say it can. I can, that envy can be transformed or change the object of envy, but still envy. Instead of a car, I would change to house or a god or something else, but still envy. That envy means comparison. Can the mind be free of comparison?
Yes, that is the question. That is really the question. You can by analysis, by introspection, by discipline, you can change from one configuration to another configuration. Maybe a nobler, more approved configuration.
But it's still within the same field.
Except that the man whom you envy for his car or his house or his wife or his children, you may later on decide that in fact he was not worth envying. You may envy somebody else.
But I moved somebody else. It may be something else. So
it may even be a person who does not have any envy. You envy
something. Negative, positive, and the negation of it. So can my mind be free of comparison, and therefore imitation, therefore envy, and all the rest of it. And analysis will not change that. So can the mind throw off that burden? You can't proceed beyond that. If you can't throw it off, you're
suppose that we always think in some sort of a framework. act absolutely and completely without comparison to anything, either abstract or real, is a difficult process. At least to me, it's a difficult process.
So am I dull because I compare myself with you who are clever? If I don't compare myself with you, am I dull? I may be stupid, I may be something else, but if there is no comparison, what takes place?
Yes, this is essentially what I said. When people say I'm dull or I'm smart, it's always in comparison or framework. Operationally, this is the way all things happen, and to absolutely transcend that is a difficult process.
That means to be completely alone, not isolation. And that's looking at. So can the mind discard analysis? And what do I do if I discard with envy? It's not good transferring the objects of envy. They would say, whether it's a car, a woman, or a god, it's the same. Or the negation of trying to be non-envious is the same. Now what shall I do with that envy? Because I see what envy has done in the world, I see all the people, all the cause effect of all that. So can the mind be free of envy? If not, I'm functioning, mind is functioning within the field of the known, with its content.
May I ask a question at this
So
point?
I'm not chairman, kill the chairman.
I didn't realize
May
I
I-
was chairman.
We're all chairmen.
In this general context, do I understand analysis to mean looking at part of the contents of consciousness? Any part, but only part? If this is the meaning of analysis at present, suppose you say you negate analysis and then you ask the question, can my mind get rid of envy? It seems to me we are back at the level of analysis.
I'm still envious. Analysis, I try to be rid of envy through analysis. And I am succeeding.
I think I have not understood clearly what is meant by negation of analysis. It might even be that if one really negates analysis, one by then has moved beyond envy. Is that not
We're
possible?
going to find out, so we're going to find out. Unless I have done it, the other thing is
We don't know.
theoretical and nonsensical and has no value.
I like to put a little positive approach to this. Suppose I find a very good man when compared with myself. I perhaps begin with envy, which is not good, but out of this I want to ask, is it not possible that I might be able to become good myself? Is it likely that
No,
this
sir.
part of envy may have
No,
a positive aspect?
I can't. You are good. I am not. I compare myself with you and realize I am not good. And therefore, I want to become like you. You are the epitome, the essence of goodness, and I am not. And I would like to be that. That is, I become like you. Right, sir?
Yes, that's what I'm thinking.
I can't become that. Goodness is not yours or mine. Goodness is goodness.
Yes, but I would like to interpose something here at this point. It seems to me that Professor Ramurthy wears a very nice shirt. I see it, I envy it. I decide I would go and get a shirt somewhat like this one. In the process of getting it, I find that in fact it is not simply stylishness, that it is aesthetic, it is pleasant, it is happy.
That's what.
And therefore, if I want to look back at the history of why I feel happy, I may say, oh, I was envious of Rama, and he was wearing something, so I did this one. But in a certain sense, my happiness is totally without cause. I am happy. I may want to create a prehistory for the happiness. I may want to condition it by saying that this and this made me happy. But after a certain time, these are inventions, these are sheer reconstructions. Like we used to write history, I mean, fantastic history stories which never happened. Because you don't remember, but you make one king marry another queen because the history could continue. So in this case, the envy is thought of as a good thing. In the same sense, competition. You hate someone, you envy someone, or you are envious of someone else's prowess. You proceed just because you want to best him. But then you find out that in fact this was just like duck taking to water. It was something that you were quite natural to. But you may never have gotten into the thing, but for the fact that your sensibility to this was awakened by an emotion which is normally considered negative. But eventually when you are in it and enjoying yourself, you don't ask the question, now who turned me on to physics? I mean, why did I do this? This was the point that
yes, I mean, I could even decide, good perhaps, something not, I might not have used. Suppose I meet a very generous man. I am not as generous. I might first envy him, but I might be converted in this process. I just want to see the good.
All that takes time. Is time the means of flowering of goodness?
Well, I think it varies, the amount of time that it takes. Varies. I might be transformed at one stage instantly when I see something that's.
Therefore, that is the important thing, not time, not my becoming good. My becoming good is still not good, because it's me that is trying to become something. I don't know.
Yeah, is this not a difference in perspective rather than difference in content? In the sense that in one case you talk about not even my becoming good, but as Indian tradition would say, goodness. Not even say my being goodness or goodness is, not even that, just goodness. That's a timeless, eternal, sacred perspective. There is a profane way of historic way of looking at it, in which you say, I am this one, but previously I was this.
Yes.
No, not I should become, but previously I was. It is a prehistory.
Yes, prehistory.
I can see that the other thing, it takes away energy. If I say I want to be the fastest runner, then I would be always thinking, now I'm not running fast enough. If I want to be the best scientist, then I would say, well, Raman did this and I have not yet done that, so I'm not as good. But on the other hand, if I say I was just like somebody else walking around the street, but now I'm able to contemplate something, isn't it nice? How did it happen? Oh, this teacher helped me, this friend helped me, this man made me envious, so I tried to compete with him. So it seems to me comparisons, retrospective glances, talking about history of how one arrived at this point, is not taking away energy. In fact, sometimes it gives you more energy. You see that after all things are not so bad. And then you say, well...
No, I quite understand.
Then you say that
this is the Guru values. So what is it we are now discussing?
What happens after you negate analysis? Or how can one talk about it? That was the question.
Now, you want to pursue this? Otherwise,
No,
He has taken it. Right?
yes.
I repeated it.
please say it again, Mukund.
Well, what is it that where does one go if one is able to negate analysis? It is not clear to me that I can do it, and I haven't clearly understood what is involved in negating analysis.
I think that's very clear. I mean, after all,
It
analysis,
doesn't seem easy.
analysis implies all that we just now said.
If analysis means well, words are
And to
difficult.
me, the analysis, the analyzer is the analyzed. The observer is the observed. And therefore he's biting his tail all the time. That's all he's doing when you analyze. If that is so, I mean, it is at least to me a fact. If that is so, then what is to be done with envy? That was the question which we were talking just now. Is envy different from the observer? Or is the observer envy also? The observer is the observed. And therefore there is no division between the observer and the observed, and therefore there is no conflict.
I'm sorry, this is not clear.
I believe the question is with regard to the following thing. These statements are meaningful at a level at which, in a sense, you have done certain amount of preliminary analysis.
No.
Because if you have not done the preliminary analysis, to that person you say you should not analyze, it does not mean anything.
Of course, that's what I...
Therefore, a sensibility has to be woken up. One has to, what tradition is normally referred to as mumukshatva. There must be certain tendency, certain desire to be yourself. It would appear very natural that a person would want to be himself.
I never said to myself, I must be myself. Because I don't know what myself is. I can investigate who is me. Right? I am the name, I am the country, I am the quality, I am the etc. etc. Words. Ideas, conclusions, prejudices, tradition, all that's me. And the me says, I must become better. I must imitate, I must become better. I never looked at it that way. The me is words, there is no reality. It's not an abstraction. It isn't a thing which I say, well, me is not words, and go and do something which is me.
Mm-hmm. This I can very well comprehend. But what, however, is brought up is that not everyone is you.
And I think that's a mistake. It's that put it, forgive me for, it's not everyone is me, of course, but the analysis I must stick to that, because I'm a bundle of all these things. My consciousness is its content, right?
Yes.
Now, can the mind be free of its content? This is, please forgive the phraseology. I mean, using all crude words and all the rest of it. But if the mind is functioning always within the field of the known, it's always living in a prison. There's no freedom. You can invent freedom. Books or whatever you like to call it, but it's all ideological nonsense. Now, can the mind step out of that? That's the real issue.
That's the real issue. To get to this real issue, most people need preliminary work.
I don't think it's necessary. I know this is the whole problem. So this is the whole problem.
So is it not a fact by constant awareness, one observes the constant interactions in the mind, in the emotion, in the physical play, the physical thing, and if you go to the analysis and further, these reactions the biological human organism faces, we find that the desire in its various forms, whatever it may be, a stigma is always there to produce these things.
Yes, sir.
So how is this? These reactions, we can go out beyond the periphery of it.
That means I have to understand all desire, doesn't it?
Yes.
It comes to that, put it differently. Desire, which is
In various forms,
stimulation, contact, sensation, desire. Right? That's what you're saying. Sir. Now, can desire not flower without any discipline?
Yes.
Can desire flower
Not flower
without
control.
Depends on how you say control. It
I
seems
mean,
to me if you abandon control, then too the desire will disappear.
And also flower. What is the flowering of desire? I mean, these are
Flowering, let it blossom. I want that house, fight for it. Go through all the misery of it. That's what we do. That's the flowering of desire. I see a woman and I'm all that.
no, it's not necessarily always struggle and strive. I might desire something, I might achieve it without all the pain.
Wait, sir, what kind of thing you achieve without struggle?
To build a house, for example, which
You have the money, you have to go the whole
it's not
scale.
struggle. It's something which I enjoy. It can be anything.
No,
I might work for a
we are
PhD and I-
talking, sir, of the flowering of goodness. Does it happen through conformity, through envy, through saying you are the essence of goodness, I must become that? Or that's what I would like to come back to this, which is what we began. Can the mind be free of the known and yet function with the known? Otherwise it's no reality. Right? Now, is that possible?
It is possible. We do it almost every day in my work, for example. That how do you discover a physical law or a mathematical theorem? You cannot discover it because if you knew how to discover it, then it is already known. On the other hand, if you don't do anything about it, and I don't think about the problem at all, and I am occupied with other things, I don't discover it.
Of course not.
So I take a pad of paper or find a man who is willing to listen to me, talk to him. He doesn't really understand what I'm talking about. I don't know myself. I scratch something on the paper and I spend day after day on it. And then suddenly it happens. And when it happens, it comes full blown with all the trimmings. And you don't know where it came from. And yet, to a certain extent, you know that if you did not think about similar things, if your mind was not ready to receive it, it would not come.
Are you saying, sir? You go through the problem, investigate all the problem, all the things involved in it, and let it go, let it lie.
Let it lie.
And next day, it has fully blossomed. When
it happens,
When
huh?
it happens, that's of course.
Sometimes in mid-sentence you tell somebody how hard you worked on it and it looks
Exactly.
totally hopeless, and then you change your mind.
Yes, so, but preliminary work, and then abeyance of work, absence of work, and in that quietness, in that non-frictional world, this thing pops up.
I guess I speak for all of you, isn't it?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
Is there another way? I'm just asking you, is there another way of not preliminary work at all? That is, I have a problem. Not mathematical, not physical, physics. I have a problem. Problem of hate. I feel hate. I hate you.
I hope it's not true.
I hate someone. Is it possible to be free of that hate without any previous movement? Your previous movement in the sense, analysis, go through it. You have hurt deeply, and the hurt remains. Can the mind be free of that hurt without any friction, without any previous analysis, free of it? You understand? Step out of it.
Now, that would be my first question. Could it be?
I'm answering, sir.
On a very low level,
I'm
one
this
could
very
answer
low
this
level,
question
I'm low
by
level.
saying, suppose one had control over one's memory, suppose one just forgot about something, then one would be free.
Look, you
So is
hurt
it control
me.
over memory?
I can't forget. I can close my eyes, suppress it, and push it away, but the thing is there. The wound is there.
Well, there are things that one can completely forget. It may have a simple explanation in terms of some damage or something.
I can answer you, and I am sure you will like the answer because it echoes something that you had said in your talk on Saturday. There is a possibility of loving someone without asking them to change. You have a friend who did you a bad turn, and you are very hurt for some time. And then you have other things to do, you think about other things. And then sometime later you look back and then you still remember that he did that to you. But there is no reaction in you.
Yes.
You love him. In fact, it is usually preceded by a feeling of compassion for that person. But afterwards even that compassion disappears and you know. For example, Dr. Mukunda was my student and he was a young man. Suppose he had done something which hurt me deeply. I look back 2 years later or 2 days later and then I say, well, he did hurt me. But I don't suffer it from it now. At that time I did suffer, but I have nothing against. I don't even pity him, because pitying is a certain sense of retaliation. Is this what you mean?
No,
in this case, one does not work for the thing, it just happens. I was going to say that
I would go a little bit.
Please.
That is, I'm just listening. Can I be aware when he hurts? And therefore no mark of hurt. I don't have to go through all the process of.
sometimes.
I don't want sometimes. I want food all the time, not sometimes.
No, what I mean by sometimes is that sometimes
And I want to find
it
that,
happens.
and I don't. You follow? I won't. I'm not. You understand? He hurts me, and I know what to do. I go to all the rest of it. But is it possible to be so aware that you're never hurt?
I can say it would be desirable. I don't know whether it is possible.
We're going to find out. I think it is possible.
And I would amplify that question. Is it possible to be not hurt at all? And if so, can you reach this state without any preparation?
Yes, I should. So word innocence, I'm introducing it, means in Latin and all the rest of it, a mind that is not capable of being heard. No. Now, can my mind be never heard? Do what you will. You're my wife, husband, neighbor, business. Never heard. Because that's much more important than having been heard, how to be rid of heard, right? And there are two things, the preventative and what to do with the heard. The prevention and the cure. Prevention is far more important than the cure. Can my mind never be heard? The doctor says, yes, it's very desirable, but it's impossible.
I don't know if you said that.
I'm adding that, sorry.
I wish it were possible.
Yeah.
One has a desire to return to the state of pristine innocence, but that too is a desire.
Is it possible never to be heard? That's the first question. Having been heard, what to do with it? That's a different matter. Now, is it possible?
Are you trying to say then that if you look at your mind in this absolutely abstract sense without any fettering
I don't
forms-
know what I'm saying, sir. Just
No.
go slow.
Well, this is the state of innocence then.
I'm going to find out. Is it possible for the mind not to be heard, for you not to be heard?
Yes, if I can achieve that state of innocence.
No. Not if that's not if. And there's no if. That's not possible. I want to find out a state of mind which can never be heard. Not through escape, through resistance, through building a wall around itself, and that's all too silly.
Sure. All right. The English language is very terrible in this context, but what I'm trying to say is my abstract mind is never heard.
No, come off.
Come on, why not? I followed your logical
You
method.
follow it. No.
This is a logical extension of what we're following through.
No,
If-
there is no abstract mind. I'm heard. I know what
Well,
you
what
mean.
is heard of me is my wealth, or my money, or my wife.
I've got an image of myself which is heard. May I put it in a very simple way. I have built an image about myself, and that image has been heard, full stop.
Actually, I think I'm seeing your point of view, which for the first time I've understood, I think, which is what is heard is really the imagery or this tradition-bound concept of myself that I have. And if you can, of course, think of yourself.
No.
I should use the word here. Sorry, but it's a habit of language. But in a...
Would you prefer when he is thinking that way rather than if, or when he is in that state rather than
Can
if?
you be in that state? Not theoretically.
No, right.
Actually, no, we are discussing facts, not theories. I'm hungry, you talk about lovely food. I want food, not your description of it. I think, can I?
Sure.
This comes exactly to the point of our previous discussion where it's identical. I think we are at the brink of the substance of what we were talking. The analyzer and the analyzed, both are consumed, both the aspects are consumed by the envy. How can we transcend? This was where we left off, that previous one, and it has come exactly to the same point.
He says we have recognized that the analysis has come to the point of seeing that in fact the analyzer and the analyzer are the same. And one becomes much more realistic and then say all this intellectual exercise has not rid me of the envy. I am envious. I am envious.
How to transcend it. But Is this an idea or an actuality?
Which the statement of becoming envious, envy.
The fact is envy. And you say, well, I've listened to you, and you say, an analyzer is the analyzed, the experience, and that can go on. Or do I say it's the truth of it? You follow the fact of it, the reality of it says that is perfectly true. I am the Muslim and the Muslim is me, right? Pakistan and either we spin out words or it's an actuality. Then I won't kill him. We're coming to the same point, sir. We're taking, which is envy, hate, or not to be hurt. Or is it more the same? Now, can my mind never be hurt? And to me, that's more than a problem. It's I must find out. I mean, Dr. Sarasindra said, well, I have to find out some theory, and I'm working at it. I must put my guts into it. We sit on the edge of it and say, look, let me see what you're talking about. I want to find out. My mind can never be hurt. Not through escape, not through resistance, not through self-identified glorisome state or all the rest of the illusion. Actual in daily life, never to be hurt. I know I've been hurt. And I know how to cure it. The curing of it is not to have an image about myself. Right? I mean it, not just words. I have no image of myself. As a great, small, petty, big, wide, noble, ignoble, nothing. So I finished with it.
So that you forget her that way, but can you not get
I haven't forgotten it. You see, you hurt me, and the mark remains. Can the mark disappear? Actually, not verbally disappear, but actually disappear. And how is it possible to make it disappear? Not to have an image about myself, whether I'm living in a good house, poor house, whether I'm surrounded with friends or no friends. Not to have an image. That means, you know what it means. No self. Yes, sir.
I was going to say something. It's in the same direction, but a little different. It seems to me that I don't know how to say it without sounding autobiographical and boastful. But it seems to me, I not only agree, I can tell this from my own experience.
Right.
Sometimes I want to talk about it, sometimes I don't want to talk about it. Sometimes I want to talk about it very rationally, in very detached scientific imagery. And sometimes I want to talk about it in poetry. Sometimes I might use traditional expressions. And it seems to me that there are no big experiences and small experiences, big things or small things. Writing a big treatise and discovering one little formula are both exactly of the same magnitude when you are in it and you are not comparing it with something else. If I were to talk about scientific discoveries with someone, if I know them extremely well and they are intimate with me, I might use an imagery which says that this is a blessing.
A blessing.
A blessing. This is a gift. In this case, I have invoked the goddess of learning or whatever nonsense. I mean, I might use some word or the other. But if I may use the word Saraswati, not in terms of somebody who is wandering around, sitting on lotuses and so on, but I may use the word Saraswati and then say that in this particular case, I have invoked Saraswati. I have performed the rituals, namely take a piece of paper and scribble on it, doodle on it, and scratch my hair or pull my beard or talk to somebody or smoke or sit up all night or drink or whatever may be necessary. In some other cases, it comes without anything. I mean, I might be waiting to catch a taxi and then in the process of that suddenly something.
This is what I want. Without that process all the time taking place.
Except that being a scientist, I don't really feel that I must only wait for gifts of this kind.
I don't want gifts.
I am free and therefore those times when I want to work, I will. When results come, I may write it up as a paper or a book, or I may not write it up. But some other times it comes by itself. So there are cases of grace or blessing or a deliberate invocation.
I don't want deliberate invocation.
What I really ask is that why do you say you do not want invocation? It seems to me that I am free to invoke.
No.
Some days I get up in the morning and I like to sing.
I don't want to invoke anything. Even Saraswati.
Even that I could see. If I could see up to that point, but if you tell me don't invoke Saraswati or don't struggle for this thing, that seems to me a limitation. If you said do it work, that also is a limitation.
Just
I have, for example, now a special gift of my friends which says that I have no particular duties when I am in Bangalore. Doesn't prevent me from working. But on the other hand, they don't say don't work.
Good.
But you seem to want to share this feeling. Don't do it. I could leave the question at this level or ask the question at the level at which you took strong exceptions to guides, gurus, philosophers, etc. To me it seems magnificent to be with a guru who can make you feel more of this kind. Magnificent to recite something which would make it. Since I return to India only periodically, I am enchanted with names. I mean, somebody says his name is Rajashekharan. It seems to be beautiful. Other people may not feel the same, and I have no pity for them, nor I have any envy for them. It seems to me that different people seem to find different modes of expression at different times. I am myself a different person at different times. In a different company, I may not say any of these things.
To be one thing all the time. Pear is a pear. A rose is a rose. It's not. Rose doesn't become something else.
Why should I be even worried about that?
And you stated it. I'm not worried. I mean, you stated I'm a different person, different time. I said, that's all that is.
No, this is a historical statement. This is a profane chronological statement saying that yes, today I am a father, tomorrow I am a son, next day I am a friend and philosopher, the other day I am a scientist.
I know.
And it seems to me that it is a sense of freedom to be what I want to be at any time if I want to be.
Is that freedom?
This is the question, must you renounce these things to be spiritual? For example, you were talking about anger. Anger, in a sense, if you're a mother, is necessary to socialize the child, to tell the child not to throw rocks at you. Even if you're not angry, you have to shame anger or give them a talking that it's wrong. You know what I mean? Isn't it necessary?
That's not anger if I talk to a child.
No, but let's say that I all of a sudden had reached a stage that nothing hurt me. What would happen if I lived with a tyrant who beat me from morning till night? I could show him it was wrong by getting angry, isn't it? I mean, aren't these envy, anger, and so on, if you're role-playing, that's necessary in order to live in society, aren't they socialized as things that alter you? I mean, in psychiatry, isn't it necessary? Otherwise, what are the defense mechanisms that make us be human to one another?
I don't know.
I mean, they're a necessary part of ourselves.
You resolved already by interposing two parts of the question. One is when you show anger but you are not angry. That of course is perfectly reasonable thing to do. There is another question implied in her remark that there are times when you get angry with your child, somebody whom you
And
love.
it's absolutely necessary to have that ingredient. If that ingredient isn't there, and if you're forced to be in society, role-playing as we're all obliged to do, then how do we socialize one another? How do we alter one another? Otherwise a tyrant would always be a tyrant. No one would dare challenge you as well.
Have we socialized each other?
I think that those mechanisms do help in a
Have we
way.
changed so very much? We are still monkeys, aren't
We're
we?
still monkeys. But actually, there's no doubt that the spirituality that you talk about is...
I'm not talking.
No, but that state of mind, whatever that definable, non-verbal state is we all understand it, but we probably can't name it. But all the other aspects that one talks about renouncing, envy, anger, and so on, aren't they necessary to be human?
Is it human to be angry?
Yes, it is.
Oh, that's all right then.
I know, I mean, to say that this is the way, how would you define that, of people interacting with one another? In order to be more human, we have certain things that alter each other and that socialize each other in the process. I mean, it doesn't mean that we should take advantage of one another, and become violent or anything like that. But even non-verbally, facial expressions, of anger, discontent.
No, as I understand it, I think this is our concept of humanness, which itself is being questioned at the moment. I mean, are we doing what we want to do? I've got this problem. That is what comes up.
Yes, but let's say that what do? You renounce living with others?
No.
Because certainly you never interact with them if you're not human.
No, is there another pattern of growth? Right in society. This is where we are investigating, isn't it? Rather than a preconceived notion of normality.
Extending this to something which we were discussing earlier, I didn't want to. We were talking about hurt, for example, and you asked a question: is it possible not to be hurt at all? Now, I would rather say it's good to be hurt. It's better to forget the hurt rather than not be hurt at all. This is my view.
We both stated both just now. We said we are hurt, and also, is it possible not to be hurt?
My answer to the question is no. It's not possible not to be hurt at all.
Your abstract mind, though, as my husband said, cannot be hurt, but your human self can be hurt.
Now, there are two statements. One, that it is not possible not to be hurt. Second, it is good to be hurt. Sir.
We use the word human, which is the way you're using good to be hurt. What is good to be? What is good about being hurt?
To go through this experience of being hurt.
But every child goes through this.
No, every one of us does.
I know, I'm questioning that. Why should we hurt? Why should human beings be hurt?
Even animals get hurt.
It's no good saying an animal. Why should I get hurt?
Because you are in a society.
Is there a way of living which is of not being hurt?
There is no way.
The question is finished.
I'm sorry.
The question is over. If you say there is no other way, then the door you close. If I had a son, I want to find out a way of educating, bring him up without being hurt. Because I love him, I have compassion for him. I want him to live a life without a single scratch. That's more human than getting hurt. If you say so, that's not possible, then the thing is over. We all know how it goes.
No,
No,
sir.
that's everyone
With all
else's
respect,
fault.
I'd like to say it's not only not possible, but I think it is desirable to go through this.
To be heard?
To be heard,
Why?
but not to remember this heard. So it's a part of existence.
No, but that's what we think.
No.
I know it.
Well, this is my view.
Ah, that's right.
No, in fact, I wouldn't like to be a human being not hurt at all.
It would be my
So let me say this.
Yeah,
Because I think
Is it possible to have only positive qualities?
What, sir?
Is it possible to have only positive qualities in a person rather than some negative qualities?
This-
Say compassion,
very-
love, say if we define as
This
positive
is very
qualities.
positive, isn't it? Not to be heard.
Yes, but it's possible in life to have only positive qualities, means have only compassion, love, but not to have love, hate and envy.
But we have all that. That's why, unfortunately, we've got too much of that and not very little of this.
No, he raises the question, is it at all possible to not to be heard, not to be envied?
I'm saying that, sir. And the gentleman says it is necessary to be heard.
Then how shall we define these positive qualities if we don't have the negative attributes? If the child is not aware, if he's trained in such a way that he's only...
And
how
then-
will he...
Sir, is it possible, I'm asking, if I had a son, if you have a son, you want to educate him, you know he'll get hurt. He'll get hurt the moment he's in a school when he says, you're not as good as that boy. And he begins there and the tragedy begins right through life. And is it possible, I'm sorry, not saying it is or it's not possible, to see that the child is not hurt? I know the other way. That's our regular way of living. That we must get hurt. It's good to be get hurt. It is you will get over it, old boy, but get hurt, be kicked around and bruised and brutalized, but you and all the rest of it. And I'm asking, before you, is there a way of bringing up a child without getting hurt? Which is normal question.
I think I've tried that with our son. I told him always to be verbal because that's what made us human rather than physical, fighting. I also told him that he belonged to himself and that he should never compete with other children and that insults were, for example, people would call him bad names and he didn't know that the names were bad but derogatory, all right? But that finally one day he came to me and he said, Mommy, I talk so much, but I get so hurt.
Yes, that's what we're talking about.
How can you do it?
But you never give a chance. Sir, I call you a fool. Can you listen to me without getting hurt? Listen carefully. And I mean it. I want to hurt you. Because you hurt me in a different way and I want to retaliate. And you don't know I want to retaliate. And I'm full of venom. And I call you something. You'll hurt, won't you? Now can you prevent it? Prevent in the sense, never receive the hurt.
I would like to know.
I could be. I'll show you the for God's
Sure.
sake, people. Is that possible?
Possible not to receive the hurt at all.
All that implies self-knowledge, that you must know yourself very well. Right, sir? Which means you must be know all your reactions, quickness of them, the rapidity of everything inside you, that stimulate all that. Which means great awareness, isn't it? Attention. Now when you are attending, when I call you a fool, does it take root?
No.
That's all. No, I got. Now wait, you accept it as a theory.
No, not I accept it in practice.
Yeah, not practical. No. It is, you see it. Therefore you won't be hurt.
Could you amplify it, sir? Could you say it more clearly?
So I was saying, sir, to me it is very important not to be hurt. Because then I'm a healthy person. I'm a whole person. Because if I have a lot of hurts, I can't, it's like a bruised animal. It's never a whole animal. Not a healthy, sane animal. So I want to find a way of living, never to be hurt by anything that happens. Not that I'm selfish, you understand, all that. So, to do that, I see I must know myself a great deal. I must learn about myself. Right, sir? That means I must be aware of myself. You know what I mean by awareness, in the sense, a choiceless observation of myself. My thoughts, feelings, which can be done very quickly and all that business. Then, in that state of attention, he calls me a liar, whatever it is. And I listen. I'm fully attentive. I'm not half asleep. It is only when I'm inattentive that I'm hurt.
Does it mean that I should be aware without creating an image of myself?
That's right.
How does one reach this awareness? How does one reach this awareness?
You can't reach it.
How does one achieve it? Or how does one have it? Instantaneous.
I said, you have it when you want pleasure, don't you?